wrong microphone. Hopefully this is better. Hopefully you guys can hear me better. If you couldn't hear me, um, we were on the wrong microphone. And there's Rodney. My goodness, the dude is there. Listen, it's not really dark outside, but Rodney's lighting is right. Like, who is this guy? What's happening? What's up, brother?
Good morning, brother. What's going down?
Microphone check. What's going down is what's going down is yo, that's the dream. A song called Black. And if you couldn't understand, he was saying he's feeling real black right now. It's a very dramatic song. You guys check it out if you get the chance. I love it. But Rod, we are back. We may or may not have Anthony Cobbs come on today. He's supposed to get away from what he's doing and try to. I'm not sure what's happening with LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is not rocking. Oh well. Um, he's supposed to try to get away and talk about this NCAA coaching carousel. So we'll try to hold off on that for a bit and try to hold off until he comes in. But Rod, this is episode 80. So this is obviously a year and a half plus some because 78 was officially a year and a half, and then plus two more episodes. And then, like I was telling them, it's been a little tough for us, or it was a little tough for us through football season. Hopefully we can get back on track and be regular again. But yeah, shout out to you guys, the viewers, the listeners, um, viewers of the Collective Podcast, listeners to the Collective Podcast. We appreciate you. You are the reason we do it. Rod, um, I know that you sent me something saying that CJ Hunter passed away. Well,
Yeah,
I don't know if it was yesterday or if that's just when people found out, but um, let's go ahead and kick it off.
yeah. Apparently he had. I think it said he had an issue with blood clots or something. Only 52 years old. So hopefully that wasn't the result of
Come on
steroids
today.
or anything like that.
He's supposed to get away from Hold on,
Yeah.
Rod. Sorry. And try to. I'm not sure what's happening with LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is not right. Go ahead. Sorry.
So young, man. Former husband of Marion Jones, who tested positive several times for performance enhancing drugs. I hope that had nothing to do with his death. Um, but yeah, gone at 52.
That's very sad. Just anybody like going that early, that soon, and like you said, Rod, I'm hoping that it wasn't related to those those struggles. Um, but yeah, when I saw that, I was like, damn. I was wondering, off the top, everybody that passes, you wonder if it's COVID related, or related to COVID complications or something like that. And sad, man, pretty sad.
Yeah.
So, um, all right. So, with trying to avoid college football for a minute, or at least the coaching carousel. What do you want to kick off with?
Um, Man, just I'll limit it to just glad that the Notre Dame defense coordinator got the job there, and I hope he gets a fair shake. Um, I hope he does well. I've never been a big fan of Notre Dame, but I hope he does. I've always liked certain Notre Dame players, like Tim Brown or uh, Jerome Bettis. Certain guys that they had on the team, but I've never been a fan of the Irish. Um, but I hope he does well, just for the sake of future black coaches to get hired.
Okay. So I think what Rod was saying was he hears me saying that we're not going to talk about the coaching carousel, but he does want to shout out the brother. So that's what he was doing, and then we're moving on. So respect, Rod. I agree with you. And then it's always a lovely situation when you he's not a recycled coach. And if he were a recycled black coach, I wouldn't be mad at that because they don't really exist. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like like seemed like we never really heard from Ty Whittingham again after he left Notre Dame. Obviously
Right.
Carl Durrell got another shot. Um, Herm Edwards has some staying power at Arizona State. And what's our guy's name at Stanford? It's escaping me right now.
David Shaw.
Yeah, yeah, Coach Shaw. Um, so they get second chances, multiple chances, that whole thing. But um, do they really? It they don't get a chance to leave though, right? They don't get a chance to leave on their own terms. So it's a really interesting situation. But again, we're not supposed to be talking about this now. So let me move on from it. Shout out to my guy, Rodney Saucier Sr., who's here. We are the Collective Podcast. Shout out to Roddy T, Roderick Tennell, checking in, I'm sure, from somewhere in Los Angeles. We golfed recently, and we got to get out again. I know his work schedule's tough, but I talked to Roland and my dad, and they're trying to go hit 18 this coming week. So, Rod, if we can get you out there, let's go. It's a very interesting week for me in basketball. I don't have a lot. I don't think I have anything really before Friday. Actually, I don't think I have anything this week. No games. So I'm pretty free to golf. It's a crazy free week for college basketball. Shout out to Jay Moore, um, Javon. We did that thing right. We beat SC again. So shout out to the Bruins. If you were going for the men of Troy or the women of Troy, too bad, sucker. Too bad. Whoever you are. Oh, we got somebody checking in internationally. Not sure what that says. Hopefully, it's not anything derogatory toward us. Javon's out there for the Pac-12 championship. Is it at Allegiant? Oh, it was last night. Obviously, was it at Allegiant? Um, don't know what this means. Yes, I do own clippers. I cut my hair every week. Actually, I cut my hair multiple times per week. Yes. Is that what that meant? Was he asking if I cut my hair? Or were you saying UCLA runs LA and the Clippers run LA? Is that what you were saying? Um, I love Javon's background on Facebook. He's got Joe Bruin dancing. Um, I don't know if he's doing something uh, culturally relevant or if he's doing John Travolta. Oh no, he's just ringing the bell. He's not dancing. He's just ringing the bell, and that's called the victory bell. And if you guys don't know what the victory bell is, it's very important, and it's painted blue right now, which means we run this town. But as Javon is saying, the Lakers apparently don't run this town. But y'all know who run the West and who run, and I'm talking like this on purpose. Y'all know who run the West and who run the NBA? Yeah, your boy is back. Steph and them. Draymond had 9, 9, and 9 last night. I just love the way that guy plays. Um, one short of a triple double in every category, and I'm sure he impacted the hell out of that game. And they won by 24 points. So the other day, Phoenix eked out a victory over Golden State, and then Golden State put hands on them last night. So that was good to see. And again, yes, Javon, I do cut my hair um, multiple times per week. So, Rod, you got anything on the NBA, man? Your Clippers
I
meet
mean,
my Lakers.
yeah, the biggest story has been LeBron having those two fans put out last week. Seems everyone has had a lot to say, including 45 Jr. comes out and calls LeBron a bitch. Um, it's amazing how people talk over the internet, and you know that he would never call LeBron a bitch in person. But yeah, people have a lot to say. And I've said before, I've had some people put out of a game and felt nothing behind it. You don't pay for a ticket and get to say anything you feel like it. There's a line of respect that goes both ways, because I'm not going to walk on the court and tell some fan something personal either. Um, and I actually enjoy a little heckling. If someone is saying something to me that I find funny, I'm going to laugh. And I have many times. Or I will tell somebody, if they come with the same old whack Foot Locker joke, hey, you got that uniform from Foot Locker. I'm gonna just tell them, hey, be original. Like, if you're gonna heckle, do it right. Um, but I will definitely have your ass up out of there if you cross the line. Simple as that. Um, and apparently, I don't know how true it is. I don't know what was said, but apparently one of the people of that couple said they wish LeBron's son were dead or something like that. Um, that's I thought that was a rumor, but now that's starting to be reported quite a bit um, in different places. And yeah, you're gonna get put out for that. I saw some people commenting in some other groups on social media that LeBron should just be worried about the game and ignore it. You don't ignore stuff like that,
No.
because you don't know what this fan is capable of. You don't know this fan from a can of paint. So if they're yelling in the background, I hope your son dies. Like, who says something like that? So you don't know if they may just jump off their seat in the first row and run out on the floor and cut you or anything. So yes, bye bye. Get your ass up out of here. You paid all that money for a ticket and you will not see the game.
Yeah.
Done deal. And that goes for coaches and players. I mean, we as officials take abuse as it is, from a lot of people who don't know the rule book. First of all, I'll point that
Ugh.
out. Um, they don't understand when they actually, and AC, we've talked about this, they don't understand when they actually have good officials on the floor. They will talk crazy to good officials and give them the same treatment they're giving bad officials. And there are
Yeah.
bad officials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
doesn't make it to a high level just based on merit. I wish that were the case, but it's not. Um, so,
Fax machine.
respect the good ones. That's all. you
Yeah.
know, know when you're getting Walmart and know when you're getting Bloomingdale's and
Yeah.
act accordingly.
And to that end, know when you're getting Walmart when they're about to close. It's not even like early morning Walmart. It's like they're about to close. I got to get home. So, that's also different. And yeah, man, you're absolutely right about that. Um, I, listen, I've watched games recently, and all I can say is Rod is dead on with all of his comments about some of the officiating leaving something to be desired, and then people treating the bad officials the same as the good officials. It's one of those things, man. Um, LA Target. Yeah, man. Just uh, it's one of those things. So, yeah, um, and so in basketball, I want to say I've only thrown somebody out, had somebody thrown out one time, and it, they. I wish they would have met me in the parking lot. They called me the N word, like they were just way too entitled. Um, and So they and their friend had to go. It was at Hollywood High, so I guess I was working for the LA unit at the time, and they both just stood outside the door, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know they were stood outside the door while the game was still going on, but then they disappeared after it was over. And so I was ready. I didn't have an escort or anything, and so I had myself ready to be ready in case something popped off. And but you never know what people are thinking. You never know if people want to die that night, suicide by cop or whatever. So you don't want to exacerbate the situation, but you definitely can't stay. You got to go. And had to have someone thrown out in football, and I was definitely working. It was high school. I was definitely working for the Long Beach unit. Um, I keep visualizing that it happened at Bosco, but I know it didn't. So I don't remember where it happened, but it was, somebody in the stands, like right around the 50, something threatening. And so they had to go. And that's the thing. Well, the game won't continue until you leave. So everybody can be mad at you. Oh, let them play. You could say let them play all you want. But when your fan, your buddy in the stands, is the reason why the game is not continuing, get on them. Don't don't get on us. Um, I had the opportunity yesterday. Kind of, this is not related. This was not bad officiating. I'm transitioning. I had an opportunity yesterday to watch a college basketball game. Just watching it. I had to kill time between working the Chargers practice and my own college basketball game. So I went up to a gym. I knew who was playing, but I didn't know who was working. So I had a chance to just go watch, and it was interesting. Like I was dying laughing, not at the officiating, but like I know mannerisms of the coaches because I have these coaches quite a bit, but it was a situation where I was just watching, knowing those coaches, and then I have no dog in the fight, so I'm just watching. And so I'm watching one coach, and I know what he's about to do, and I can see him. I see him get up, and I can see him kind of make his way to the edge of his coaching box, and I know what he's got a question about, and I know his approach, and it was funny. But then the funnier thing, like what was actually funny, is the people in the stands and the comments they were making. And I rarely hear any of this when I'm officiating because I'm in a zone, right? Like I don't hear anything in football, and I hear very little in basketball. But you will catch me quite a bit laughing in basketball on the court when I do hear something, because I won't respond, but I don't know. I may send you a message with my body language or something. You may get something from me, but generally I'm just going to laugh at you because you have no idea what you're talking about. So to hear this one man talking to this one player, the player was like, "Well, how did I foul her?" So I know how she fouled her, but his answer was stupid as hell. Well, how do you think the ball came loose? What? She's playing defense. So just because the ball came loose doesn't mean that she fouled her. But that was his response to the kid, or she's not a kid, to the college player. And it's like, well, I know that they get wrapped up as fans, and since they have no idea what they're talking about, they get really passionate about it, and they double down on it and triple down on it, and it was hilarious. And so at one point, a guy sitting near me yelled out something to the officials, and so my buddy Victor, our buddy Victor, was working, and Victor says to me, or says to the guy, well, says, "We got this, ref. We got this, ref." So he was talking to me because I'm the ref in the stands, but he was really sending the message to the the person. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway, it was fun to watch. Sorry it took me so long to say that. It was fun to watch. Shout out to Aunt Cheryl. What up? What up? Yeah, it was fun to just sit back and watch the game and watch the coaches coach and all of that. Um, all right, we have a guest.
What is
Go
what it
Bruins.
is?
What it is, what
Go
it look like.
Bruins.
What up,
Um,
fellas?
What's happening?
what up? What
Okay.
what town are
That's a
you in?
that's a
I'm in
championship coach right there.
I'm in LA, man. I'm at Fox.
Okay. Um, that's a championship coach. You won a bowl
That's a,
game or
that's a
something?
championship coach.
Championship coach? No, we lost, man.
They went.
We
He
went
went
to
to
the
the big
chip.
show though.
We went to the chip, and the moment was too big. What's that? What's that one meme guy? He said the moment was too big. You piss on your leg, and you're not an athlete. No, man. We had just emotion. Emotions was too high, man. The kids couldn't get up and stay up. They got up and played lethargically until the fourth quarter and try to make a little comeback. So you live and you learn, man. That's why you pay the experienced guys big money.
You guys made history, man. You guys, Jordan, Compton, and Polly, all on the same weekend playing for a
Yeah.
title. That's huge.
Going to the game tonight, man. Got to support the Jack Rabbits. So
Oh,
hopefully they got some security.
they made it through.
The Jack
So
Rabbits going into the state regionals and they play against Sarah for the third time in 1 year.
Yeah, that's
So
oh,
crazy.
it should be interesting. It's going to be at Sarah. They ain't got enough room to accommodate. They added 300 more tickets. So I hope they added 300 more security guards too.
well, that's
And
not
three
going to
hundred
happen.
and three
But
hundred more seats.
hopefully it's safe.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I got a
Let's
few
see.
minutes, man. What you guys were talking about, man? I got a few minutes before my boss come looking for me.
All right, coaching carousel, college
Oh,
football. Get on it.
I should have been a white coach.
Is it too late?
To be a
Probably.
white coach in America? Yeah. I don't think that's in the cards for me.
It's not in the
I
cards.
mean, but no, Notre Dame hired a brother, but I'm pretty sure he ain't get the same red carpet that the SC coach is getting, and it's crazy what they gave the LSU coach. Um, I don't know, man, and it's just the commitment to football is very, very clear. Some institutions it's important, monumentally important. Like SC is all of a sudden now in title contention next year. Lincoln Riley's in town, and Brian Kelly joins LSU. Now they're a contender. When Notre Dame has actually had a chance to make the bowl championship series this Saturday. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Notre Dame has a brother for a coach once again. Let's see if he gets more than a year. Uh, it's, I mean, I think UCLA stuck with Chip Kelly because who are you going to replace him with at this point? It's it's just crazy, man. Jet planes, buying your house for over market value to get you to come, buying out your contract. This is absolutely absurd, man. And kids is fighting for the NIL rights to get a couple of peanuts of money, but these coaches getting $10 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, ain't played it down. Lincoln Riley ain't won a championship, but they paid that man like he was Nick Saban.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely
Right.
crazy, man. I don't have no inside track except I'm just hey man, I'm never gonna knock another man for getting his money. But the fact that they are able to get that money and players are still fighting for their piece of the pie. Because it's still only the star players getting their NIL money. I don't think the other kids are getting any money.
Yeah.
So it's still a lot to be done as far as making it a level playing field when it comes to money being distributed properly amongst this big old microcosm of NCAA hypocrisy. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna pay out, I'm gonna say, man, I picked the wrong profession. I should have gotten into coaching.
And
Yeah,
and
because they're
and
definitely
speaking
not
of
giving officials any raises.
Heck yeah, man, y'all got a stressful job.
let me just say this real quick. So speaking of UCLA and speaking of NIL, shout out to Ed O'Bannon for pioneering that fight for decades.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Go Bruins. Ed O. All right. So yeah. All right. Well, obviously this is Anthony Cobbs, AC Sports Live. Checking
What
back
it
in
is.
with us. It's been a while since he's been on the show, but I definitely wanted him to kick off the talk about the coaching carousel, and not a lot more to it. But I think because the money in college is so bizarre, it's realistic for people to think that they might be able to lure. Listen to this, Cliff Kingsbury out of the NFL. He's got the
Money,
best team in the NFL right now, and
money
they're
talk.
actually talking about throwing, stupid money at him at the collegiate level to
Money
get
talk.
him out of the NFL. It's because he's underpaid in the
Y'all
NFL.
remember?
So
Y'all remember the WWF? Remember the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase?
Mhm.
yeah,
Everybody has a price for the $1 Million Man. Now, the Steelers coach, he cut down talks real quick by saying never, ever, ever. But I don't even believe that, because now they're buying out contracts, man. And that's why I told somebody that contracts ain't nothing but a piece of paper. They're avoided, they're bought out, they're canceled every single day. If a team wants you, like Cliff Kingsbury's sitting pretty, but he knows the NFL life means not for long. And if I can go to college with a cushy
yeah.
position where I don't even have to
I
make the BCS and I can make
mean,
10 million bucks a year,
and
that's crazy, man.
Yeah. I still don't get what the hype was. I mean, for him to get the job in the first place. Yes, he's doing better because they've given him. I mean, he's got arguably the number one receiver. He's got a first pick quarterback. He's got one of the Watt brothers who came over as a free agent. I mean, like, the deck is stacked for him. And that's
I
my
think
argument when
that's the McVay syndrome, though. You get this young hotshot coach, and it looks good in the regular season. I think he knows his limitations, because the Cardinals gonna get exposed the same way the Rams got exposed when he got up against a real coach in the playoffs. So Kingsbury's not stupid. He's gonna ride this wave as long as he can. This is gonna add leverage to his bargaining chips. That, hey man, I can go college if you guys don't want to pay me. So I'm not sure how much the Cardinals paid him to come to the NFL, but when he left college abruptly, it was because the money was good and it's an NFL shot. Who knows, man? NFL is very stressful. You don't get 25 number one picks. You get two. Whereas in college, you get number one picks no matter how many 5-star kids you can find. And it's a lot less stressful. I would say that if we make a bowl game, we good.
right.
Depending on
yeah,
where you go. If you go to UCLA, mediocrity is accepted. And I hate that, but that's how it is.
yeah, I hate that. It's really interesting if you look at back when Cobbs and I were coming up and Rod was a new great grandpa. You had
He's still old.
Rick Pitino. You had Rick Pitino and John Calipari make the transition to the NBA, and it wasn't pretty for either one of them, and they went right back to college and stayed there and locked in for
Locked
decades,
it in.
for decades, and it's
Saban,
just
didn't Saban go to the Dolphins?
Yep.
Came
yeah,
raised. He's like, hey, Experior. No, he's like, them boys went right back to where it was cushy.
yeah, and he's done a lot
Man,
since. I
he
mean,
won Aflac commercials and stuff. He danced with Prime Time now. What's going on, man?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna encourage my son to be a coach. And I just watched that movie on Netflix, Passing. If you can pass as a white man, get even more money, man.
I started passing. I got like 20 minutes into it, and I haven't gone back yet. I do plan to finish it.
Unpopular opinion. I hated that movie. I'm like,
Oh.
what in the world? I'm like, come on, Tessa, explain what you think and all these facial expressions and trying to, us light skins, we've been through it. I needed to be able to relate to the light skins.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. All right, so I may not go back to it. I spent those 20 minutes.
I'm like, who don't see that girl's big old Michael Jackson nose and big lips and don't think she black?
Yeah, that was very confusing. Like, these ain't the ones.
And then the husband see Tessa like, oh, how are you doing? Like she just Jewish. I'm like, Tessa got the got a Jay-Z nose, KRS-One lips, and he gonna like how? Oh, you deceived me.
Oh.
I was like,
Yeah, I think I'm
now
gonna
don't get
pass
me.
on passing.
Oh man, I was like, are you kidding me? I'm glad it was only an hour and a half. We had to pick a movie between King Richard, Bruised, and Passing because we don't have
Oh,
the.
you're bad.
I'm gonna watch them all, but we only had an hour and a half, which was the Passing was an hour and a half. King
Uh-huh.
Richard's 2.5 hours, and Bruising is 2.5 hours. Or
Okay.
Bruised. So we could
Uh-huh.
watch that tonight. But good lord,
I
man,
Well, let me tell you, King Richard is in my up next, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but
it's two and a half
Bruised
hours.
Bruised was amazing.
What?
Bruised was amazing. Halle Berry
Amazing.
in her directorial debut killed it, and of course, she can act. It was a great storyline.
Wasn't predictable.
No,
What?
there were a couple of points in the movie where you could see certain things coming, but no, it wasn't predictable. Even the final outcome was in doubt, and there are a number of things that you didn't see coming, and it was such an emotional roller coaster, and it wasn't just about sports. It was about sports. It was about family. It was about the dynamic between coaches and their athletes, and just so many little stories inside of there. The mother grandmother dynamic, like it was well done.
All right.
Somebody asked me if she also wrote it, and I was like, well, that's like, damn, you want her
No,
to have
she.
starred in it,
I don't think
directed
she
it,
wrote it.
and I don't think she wrote it. But the two parts that she did do, directing it and
Sorry.
acting in it, killed it, killed it,
Now, let
killed
me
it.
ask you this before. Don't ruin it. Does she make me feel good? Does she get to the Oscar? Does she make me feel good, Tommy Lee Jones? That's what she's trying to reach. She's trying to reach that. She's trying to reach that level again in an actor's role, not giving up the nook to get the Oscar. Does
Yeah,
she make me feel good?
and I'm hoping that
Get a nomination.
that on. wi- I'm hoping that. How do I answer it without? So she does a great job of acting, and I'm hoping that
I'll
that
leave it at that. I'll
is
leave it at that.
enough. It's a phenomenal performance.
Now, let me ask this: is her fighting believable?
Yes.
What?
I don't know who in the fuck
We got to
was
watch
the
this.
technical consultant on this, but
That
yeah,
was fighting. Well, I
yeah.
heard she's been training for a minute. So
Well, that was like, it all made sense. Like this, like you had Will Smith in Ali, or whatever the Ali movie was called. I think it was just called Ali. Yeah. Um, and then you had, you know, uh, what's our guy's name? Michael B. Jordan in Creed. Like, they did a lot of training, right? And I don't know if Sylvester Stallone did training or not. That dude's just a really bad actor, but
lucky.
but I mean, iconic character, right? And movies that we all loved. And I know Rodney gave them some of the
Timing.
seed money, and I don't know
Timing.
if he
Yeah.
got any of that back, but
Rodney was a stunt. Rodney was a stunt double for Apollo Creed in the gym scene. In the
Hey man,
he was a stunt
I
double.
was a big Clubber Lang
You
fan,
went
man.
against Ivan Drago
he went against.
in the
Shit, he was.
outtakes.
Clubber Lang has some of the best one-liners in the sports movie history.
Oh, in the history of movies.
I mean, he has some classics. He said, "Hey woman, hey woman, you feel lonely at night. Come around my place. I say real man.
The
I
fighting
got a
was
lot of."
the fighting was believable.
All right, I'm
Listen,
gonna check it out, man.
yeah, they cast it well. I like it to give a shout out to the casting director.
One scene in
Bruce was
particular
good.
will get her that that Academy Award nomination.
Say it again, Rod.
I said because
J-Mo.
of the era we're in, one scene in particular will get her an Academy Award nomination.
For
You saw it?
Bruised? For Bruised?
For Bruised.
You
Yeah.
saw it?
Yes, I did see it.
I'm
What
gonna
did you
check
think
it out.
of it?
Man.
I thought it was predictable, but I thought she
Oh.
directed it well.
Okay.
It looked like Losing Isaiah with fighting in it. From the
Let's not talk
preview.
about Losing Isaiah, dog. No, it was it was a good movie, man.
Okay, I was just saying, hey, Haley Berry trying to do it. She is. What's that one, Martin? When he like, I wrote it, I directed it, and most importantly, I'm starring in it. Poof, be gone. You remember that episode? Remember that when he was directing? He cut up on that
Wait.
joint, boy.
So if you're asking Rodney if he remembers that episode,
He was in
Rodney
it.
remembers every line of every episode of Martin. So for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Martin
right.
gets names all over this program. He written by it, directed by it.
Our kids were born to Martin. They had a
Oh,
DVD
man.
in Memorial
How do you
Hospital.
do that?
If you
And,
ain't,
while Nisha was in labor, I threw in the Martin DVDs, and by the
There
time
you
they
go.
popped out,
I
Martin was
can't
still
say.
playing.
Oh, okay. Born to Martin, not conceived to Martin. Okay, I understand.
No.
Thank you. That makes more sense. So Javon says King Richard was a good movie. I'm gonna give you guys a quick
King
story.
Richard definitely is a good movie.
Should I be upset that my scene with Richard Williams didn't make the movie? I'm just kidding. I heard that some people were a little upset with how things turned out.
but when he got jumped, where were you? You must have ran.
Okay.
You was there to do a story. You like, Mr. Williams. If you, hey, what's up, cuz? Hey, I'll see you. I'll have to interview you another time. I gotta go.
What? You must not know where I grew up. I grew up on
They
95th
look
and
like
Hoover, bro.
But
So
you still,
look,
you still with the
you
light
wasn't
skin
going-
delegation.
you
Never
wasn't
ran.
going over to Ludus Park back then.
Yeah.
Hashtag
Never ran.
never ran.
Never got
Hashtag
sweated
never
either.
ran.
We don't see you
Oh,
around these
that's
parts
it.
no more. We don't see you around these parts no more. AC, you think you better than us?
Well,
you can't come kick it with us like Michael Jackson. You ain't bad. You ain't nothing.
so that funny thing is it definitely wasn't AC, it was Tony. But yeah, I had some of that. You know, when I because I never went to school in my neighborhood. So I would
There you
catch the
go.
bus out, but no, I had to throw him coming back in. Like I had to, you know,
Yelling, Compton, but you moved to Riverside.
the bus the bus dropped. No, if anything, I was in school in Riverside, but still in Compton. So the thing is, I had to get off the bus on Vermont, and then I had to walk all the way to Hoover, and it wasn't a straight shot. So there was a lot of combat going on because that wasn't my flow. So I definitely had to learn how to fight pretty quickly, and I had a lot of it. And coupled with the fact that I had a ducktail, and motherfuckers weren't pleased with that.
Cut that off.
Yeah, I had a lot of boxing. But listen, there was a particular time when I was covering the tennis tournament in Manhattan Beach, and you know, Venus and Serena would trade off tournaments. They never played tournaments together other than the majors and Indian Wells. So there were only 5 tournaments per year that they would play together. And then for all the other ones on the tour, they would trade off. So Manhattan Beach was Serena's every year. So one year Serena played, and then I was in the hospitality tent, and Richard came in there and got to talking to me because there were only two at the time. There were just 2 black people in there, J.A. Adande and me, and he knew J.A. already, but he started talking to me, asking me questions, and asked about my background. He was like, hey man, you want to take a ride? And I was like, yeah, sure. So do you know we got in the little car that the tournament gave him, some little red Benz, which was interesting.
He said, Flex.
Wait, no, it was Richard
Everybody else
Williams.
got golf course.
That's
Richard had a red Benz. You
So
not gonna shortchange me. You give me my Benz like everybody else.
Guess where we went? We went to Tams in Compton.
You know it.
We went from Manhattan Beach.
That should have been in the movie.
That's
should have
That's
been
what I'm saying. That should have been in the movie, but they probably
He
didn't.
said-
You know, he may not even remember it. But
You want to
listen,
go to Portos? You want to go to Portos?
Listen.
No.
we went to Tams, and you know your boy had the French toast with the chicken thigh, the grilled chicken thigh. It was amazing with eggs and grits. But just in the ride, he talked about so much. He just told me about, like basically what we now know about him, bringing them up, and life before, um being with
Yeah.
Oracene, and all of trials and tribulations, and how he didn't know that he was going to be some uh celebrity tennis dad. And he didn't know, well, he did know that his daughters were going to be superstars, but before he decided they were going to be, then he didn't know that they were going to be, and just all of that. And it was just great insight, and I wasn't recording it. It was just a conversation that he and I would share, that I will have for the rest of my life, but there's no record of it. But it was great. It was phenomenal. I don't even know what year it was, but I can't believe that I got to know him like that on that ride up, and then we shared a meal, and then rode back, and it was a great time. And obviously I joke about that should have been in the movie, but no one else knows about it, so it wasn't going to be in the movie. But I'm happy that I had that, for real.
Well, speaking of
Um,
should have been in the movie,
It really
his
should.
oldest daughter from his first wife has had a lot to say about the movie, criticizing it, saying that that part of the movie should have been included with his first family. So she says he's no king. She grew up in poverty with her brothers and sisters. Serena and Venus never come around them, and it's kind of like they're strangers. But anyway, uh, she goes on to say that Richard tells them he's leaving the house because he's going to buy somebody, one of the kids, a bike, and he never returns, and they hardly see him after that. So I'm not sure why some people feel like they have to be included in a certain person's life. I mean, like, they weren't doing his whole life. The focus of the movie was his life training Venus and Serena when they were kids. So quite naturally, if Venus and Serena weren't around those other siblings, why would they include that? But she's really hot about it. Um, because if someone's supposed to do a movie about me, there are definitely spots that I wouldn't include. Uh,
um,
and I think
so
that I
you would
think I speak for all of us. I said
so
there are
you
some
would jump
things that are going to be left out.
you would jump straight
Uh,
from you guys planning out the construction of Noah's Ark, directly from that to what, the Colosseum? When you were training the
I want to
gladiators.
see the scene where Eve talked you into tasting that fruit.
Oh man, that's funny coming
What
from
kind of
Eve's
did she
grandfather.
have on a dress? Was it a short stank skirt, or what was she wearing when she told you, "Hey, come get some, get some"?
Bite bite your tongue, grandfather of Eve. Like, I don't even know how that fits into the storyline. You Eve's grandfather. Hey, what's up, Elaine Williams? Shout out to you. I don't think we said we
Yeah,
shouted
man,
you out yet.
Elaine hurt me because she moved to Texas and showed off her, or she got a new, she traded in her California driver's license. My heart is broken, but
She got a cowboy hat.
I, I I haven't seen the cowboy hat yet, or the boots, but
Let me see your boots, Elaine.
I know it's coming. I'll have to snatch her up and take her to eat when I get back out there to see my brother or something. I don't know, but she's not on California soil no more. She probably got a house 5 times the size of her old one for a third of what she paid for the old one. So I'm not mad.
Well,
I'm just
Elaine, just
selfish.
make the right choice with energy. Don't choose the wrong energy plan, because you know what happened to the people in 2020, when whatever happened with the grid, and people started having to mortgage their home to pay their energy bill. So yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Well, Cobb's dropped off. I guess you guys can see that, but for the listeners, you wouldn't know, other than the fact that you don't hear his voice anymore. So I think he probably lost the signal, but he probably also went back inside of the building. So we'll catch him next time. Okay, so she has a hat. So no boots selected yet. It's funny, man. I'm gonna get some cowboy boots. Just for my rides through Texas and Wyoming and Nebraska and South Dakota. I felt out of place sometimes this year without cowboy boots. So
You
I'm
can
gonna do
swing,
that.
sing. You can ride around in a big truck and sing Taylor Swift's version of "September" by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Please tell me that Taylor Swift doesn't have a version of September.
You've never
Like,
heard it?
no.
Oh my God!
Why? Why?
Uh,
See, sir. No. Moving on. Moving on. We're not doing that. We're not doing.
It's the worst cover in all of music.
Well,
I'll
it's
put it that way.
Taylor Swift singing September. I don't want really anybody to sing September.
Yes, well, she did it, and
Why?
it's enough to make you throw things at her.
Yeah. Why did your people let that happen, Rod?
Man, they Earth, Wind, and Fire probably just wanted that check, but just listen to it. Don't take my word for it. Just listen.
28th night of September, love was changing our minds of pretender, chasing the clouds away.
First of all, she's enunciating too much. I don't want to actually know the lyrics. Like, I still want to be confused. Not confused, but like, I just want to hum it. It's horrible. Rod, you're fired. Rod's fired.
Hey,
I need a
man,
replacement for Rod because he wanted to play
she's
Taylor
got
Swift.
she's got
September.
a banjo in the background.
What the fuck was that?
A
And
remake of Hee Haw.
listen. I think Taylor Swift has a nice tone. So don't think that I'm just hating on Taylor Swift. But
I'm hating on Taylor Swift.
I don't want to hear, listen, Jennifer Hudson is the truth. I don't want to hear Jennifer Hudson sing September. But that is clearly, like you said, the worst cover of anything ever. What the flip was that? As Marvell would say, what the frick was that? What the frick was that? Shout out to Marvell July. Welly Lane, that was a special request by Rodney Saucier Sr. Taylor Swift bringing you September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Just so we get that out of our brains, let's do this just so we can, oh my goodness. A banjo. Right. Oh my goodness. Yes, that is what I will always remember. Thank you.
It's supposed to be up tempo and happy.
No, it's supposed to be a banjo. Like, wait.
Stop, man.
What's in my mind?
Stop before I beat my kids for no reason. That's depressing.
Like, you know what? I might want it. No, like, I don't want. Okay, I can't even talk. I want to hear it without the banjo to see if I'm still this disgusted with it. Like, I am disgusted with it, but am I that disgusted without the banjo?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, Rodney needs a timeout. That's for sure, Roddy T. Let's give him a timeout. Yeah, but here, let's do this again. Hold on. Let's remember. Never was a cloudy day. All right, no more Taylor Swift. Moving on. Yes. No mas. Tay Tay. I love how Roger keep calling her Tay Tay. Yeah, that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. Rodney, no more requests. All right.
I'm still mad at Kanye for making her famous. I really hate that.
Okay, so let's be clear. That's I want to leave it alone just because that
He
horrible
made her
cover.
famous, man. No one was checking for Taylor Swift before that. And
Well,
she got commercials and they like, oh, he embarrassed her. Let's make sure she goes out right.
I so I think that that's a very you're entitled to your opinion. I think that's a very limited scope. I do think that he drew more light to her, but she was literally accepting an award um,
For a
that
video. For a
he
video.
he thought that
Yeah.
um,
For a video. Not because of her not because of her songs. It was a video.
yeah, but there are certain things like you knew that was coming. Like you can't just see what was happening with Ariana. Well, Ariana can blow her ass off. You can't just see what was happening with Selena and Ariana and Justin Bieber, Killa, after what had just happened with Timberlake, and not feel like this wasn't going to be another little rugrat grow into a worldwide phenomenon. Um, it was coming. Big Machine was going to make it happen. If you feel like Kanye expedited the process, I'm fine with that. But there are certain people who it was just going to happen for, no matter what happened. And I don't blame, and I can blame Kanye for a lot of things, but I don't blame him. I blame him for I don't blame him for the fame of either Taylor Swift or Kim Kardashian. Not that you said Kim, but I think that fame was there.
I blame Ray J for that, but that's another story.
Well, definitely Ray J for getting it started, but yeah, definitely that's it. No, but definitely Ray J for getting it started.
Yeah.
Period. And I argued with people in the past who thought that Ray J was irrelevant. I'm like, yeah, call him Brandy's little brother if you want when it comes to singing, but Brandy is, whew, I love Brandy, but Ray J is another marketing guru. He knew how to parlay every single one of his 15 minutes into something phenomenal. And yeah, Ray J's relevant. And you're absolutely right that sex tape of that little Kim Kardashian with Ray J put her on the map. And then they had the store, and then they just got the show, and then there's a whole bunch of billionaires in that family now. They never look back. So moving on. Don't ever want to talk about the Kardashians on this show again. Moving on. All right. So NBA. Wait, we're done with NCAA. You got anything else to say?
No, not football.
Okay.
Just waiting to see how the playoffs unfold.
NFL?
Basketball, they've had some great games in basketball already. Definitely that opening week with UCLA and Villanova was a great game. So I'll be looking to see UCLA mature. They lost to Gonzaga, which I see that, and I'm a fan of what's his name, the Hispanic kid for UCLA,
Podcast?
Marquez. I'm a fan of his, but he didn't have the lateral movement to stay with the 7-footer from Gonzaga. um, and I think that was the difference. But I definitely like UCLA's chances to get to the Final Four as they continue to develop. They gotta still figure out that scoring on the bench. Peyton Watson hasn't delivered all of that yet against a big program. He has against smaller talent. smaller schools, but not against anyone big yet. So I'm waiting to see that, and I'm waiting for Juzang to get in his groove. He's having too many nights where he's missing like 6, 7 shots in a row, and then he's making 3 or 4, and then he'll miss 1 or 2, and it's very streaky. So I'm waiting for him to get into a flow where he puts some things together at the same time throughout an entire game and not just in spots. Um, and then I think they'll be fine. I haven't seen. I saw a glimpse of Oregon, so I don't know really what they look like. I saw a glimpse of USC, so I'm not sure what they'll do. But Pac-12 should be Pac-12 should be giving us some really good basketball this season. So I'm waiting for that.
Okay. On the women's side, Stanford lost early. Arizona looks good. Arizona looks like they might be the cream of the Pac-12 this year. UCLA is very human. They lost to 2 schools I can't even pronounce. And I'm confused. Like, I mean, they already started the season off as number 20, and I guess the voters knew something I didn't know. Clearly, this is a down year for UCLA women. I mean, in the last 10 years, we haven't seen well, let's say 8 years. The last 8 years, we hadn't seen a situation where the UCLA, if you saw UCLA, one UCLA team was 2 and the other was 20, then you knew that the women were 2 and the men were 20. But to see the men start off at number 2 and the women start off at number 20, and the men solidify that ranking by beating Villanova, and the women look like they don't even deserve to have started the season at 20 by losing to 2, not just unranked teams, but 2 teams who have never even received votes. It's confusing. So, I hope Corey Close turns that around, because obviously I'm a big fan of UCLA women's basketball. But who's not looking bad? South Carolina. Shout out to them. Shout out to Don Staley, still doing it. They beat up on the University of Connecticut, which was super essential in that high-powered matchup. So good job with them. But going back to the men's side real quick, UCLA beat Villanova, so top 5 game. They beat Villanova, then they lost to Gonzaga. Gonzaga beat UCLA in a top 2 game, but another top 5 game, and then they lost to Duke. Duke beat Gonzaga, and they lost to unranked Ohio State. So it's super funny how these teams that are at the top of the hill are not necessarily putting two of those wins together in a row. And actually, I can't even count that for Duke, because they only played Ohio State. That's not even a high-powered second game in that week. So, hopefully they drop a bit and UCLA moves back up a bit. But your daughter's boyfriend is on UCLA women's staff. Oh, okay. Well, shout out to
she has a boyfriend.
Juju's boyfriend.
No.
Okay, I'm not touching that. Shout out to Juju. Shout out to Juju's boyfriend. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna transition. Shout out to, she didn't give a name, so we'll just say shout out to UCLA's coaching staff, right? Also, on a related note, shout out to UVA's coaching staff with Tina Thompson at the wheel there. They're having a tough year, but hopefully they turn it around. Tina Thompson is the head coach, and Carlene Thompson is on her staff. So shout out to UVA. They just had a trip through California, and surprisingly, UCLA beat them, but then they beat Fullerton, Cal State Fullerton. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
Shout out to who was it that I had the other day? Georgia State or Georgia Southern? Georgia State. I had Georgia State the other day. It was great to see them working or playing out here in California. They have a couple people from California on the team. So I'm hoping they do well. So shout out to them. All right, man. College football. That's the playoff you were talking about. I didn't realize. So, what are the chances of them railroading Cincinnati?
Man, that's a good question. So who's just under Cincinnati? Because I looked at the rankings this morning. I knew Cincinnati was third.
No, they're fourth. They're
They're
fourth.
fourth. Okay.
That's the problem I have. They're fourth. So it's Oklahoma State and then Notre Dame.
Okay. With Georgia at number 1.
Yeah. So what you probably saw. Wait, now I'm confused. Are they 3?
I thought there were 3.
See, are we looking at? Hold on,
I
Rod.
thought Alabama was still ahead of them. Georgia number 1 and Michigan number 2.
Yeah, and you said Alabama was ahead of them. Exactly. Which would make Alabama 3.
And I hate that with Alabama taking a late season loss, but it's not surprising because they do it all the time.
So let me tell you what you're looking at. You're looking at the polls where Cincinnati is third. But in the CFP rankings, Cincinnati is fourth and Alabama is third. And that's important to note. Those are two different things because they're not the same voters. So, yeah, Alabama is third, and they play in the championship game against Georgia. And we would imagine that even with a loss, Georgia might stay in. We know for sure that with the loss, Alabama drops out. But they're trying to say that if Oklahoma State beats Baylor, they might jump Cincinnati. And then they're saying like with an Oklahoma State loss, Baylor would be in consideration, but they might move Notre Dame up over Cincinnati. And it's just like, Cincinnati can't do anything. I mean, obviously they have to beat Houston, but assuming that they do, that's a top 25 win. They've done all that they can. What do we do? So I'm hoping they don't get railroaded. But what are your thoughts? Roll Tide, huh?
If they beat Houston, they should be in. Houston is 11-1 and in the top 25. So, how do you not take that in consideration? And that game is today. So if it doesn't help Houston's losses to Texas Tech. Their only losses to Texas Tech, and their wins come against some pretty inferior talent. I will say that, but that should have no bearing on Cincinnati and the fact that they're playing somebody in the top 25, and they're undefeated. So, but this is something we've seen before. So they always try to find a way to get the same teams in the playoffs with 1 or 2 losses, and you have an undefeated team sitting on the outside wondering why they weren't chosen. I mean, we've seen this time and time again.
And I mean, here's the thing: they beat Notre Dame. That's their signature win of the season. So Notre Dame can't conceivably jump them if they win or when they win. Notre Dame can't jump them, but they're really well. In each of these polls, Notre Dame has been under them. So and these are the people that are voting. So based on their own methodology, you can't now because Notre Dame's not playing. They can't strengthen their argument, so they can't jump them. Where it gets tricky is Oklahoma State Baylor. Oklahoma State is just under Cincinnati, And Baylor, now Oklahoma State has a loss. Baylor has 2 losses. So there's no, and they said this before, would a 2-loss Big 12 winner be able to jump Cincinnati? I can't see Baylor being able to jump Cincinnati even with the Oklahoma State win with those 2 losses. But it's at least in the discussion, and that's tricky. And then I do feel like undefeated Georgia, if they lose once, they get to stay. But
Yep.
Alabama would have to go. So in this math, if Alabama beats Georgia, then I believe that you have the same 4 teams that you already have. If Georgia beats Alabama, then I think that opens the door for Oklahoma State, assuming they beat Baylor, for Oklahoma State and Notre Dame to fight it out to see who gets the 4th playoff spot. But we'll know tomorrow, right? The final rankings come out tomorrow, and all of these games happen today. So, and then of course Oregon, who only had an outside shot, is completely out of it now because they got shellacked by Utah. So,
yeah.
Well, hold on a second. I just want to not. What's the opposite of shouting somebody out? I just want to berate my good buddy here. Trojans and the Tide. Like, what does that even mean? Oh, you want the Trojans to be washed away by the Tide, the tidal wave. Oh, yeah, I'm down with that. A tidal wave washing away the Trojans. Good job, Roderick Tennell. I like it. Okay, what were you saying, Rod?
There's always been this thing with, the SEC and the Big 12, they play tougher schedules. And I've always argued that because these teams have big names in their conference doesn't mean that they're good, because they routinely have bad teams in the SEC too. They have up and down years where a few of the teams may be really good, and then some of them may be really bad or highly overrated based on the fact that they're in the SEC. Because when the polls come out, they put those teams high in the polls from the beginning. So by the time they do lose, they drop, but they don't drop so far where it still shows up as, oh, well, Alabama played a top 25 team. Well, probably because they were ranked so high in the beginning, but they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Like if you call it what it is, a team like Tennessee is trash. But
yeah. So I do agree with that. But then I think that we can't argue that Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Oklahoma all 3 passed the eye test. And then in the Southeastern Conference, you can look at Alabama, Georgia. It's a down year, obviously, for Louisiana State. Who else was in that mix in the SEC this year? Not Mississippi, right?
Mississippi was for a good part of the season.
Yeah, so those are the 3. Those are the 3. And that's the thing. It's so to your point. Yeah, I don't want to hear anything about the SEC outside of the fact that Georgia and Alabama are both doing well. But outside of those 2 and Ole Miss, you didn't have a successful SEC campaign. Basically everybody else was 500 in conference. Ole Miss lost to both of them. Alabama lost to Georgia. And then you have those 3 that were in the mix, and Ole Miss, had a shot had a shot at going to the show if Auburn would have beat Alabama the other day. It was Auburn, Alabama in that overtime game, right?
Yeah.
It was the Iron Bowl, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those years, but yeah, to your point, Tennessee is absolutely trash. Missouri, South Carolina, Florida, Vandy, Arkansas. was decent outside of the conference. Texas A&M was decent outside of the conference. Mississippi State, no. Auburn, LSU. LSU was like the third worst team in the SEC, and they just came from being world beaters. And you see the coaching change and all of that. So yeah, I feel you, Rod. They are generally speaking overhyped. But if you are the cream of that crop, and you do well in the playoff, then that's got to count. It's got to count for something.
And I'll
But
give you an example of what I'm talking about. They have at the time, they have Alabama beating number 14 Miami. And this was the ranking at the time they played. Miami was ranked 14. And this is what I mean by they start high. And then Alabama will be able to say, well, yeah, when we played them, they were ranked number 14. But that was at the beginning of the season. Miami's losses.
why we got to talk about Miami? Why
I'm
do I
just giving it.
do this? Do I
I
bring
know
up
you love
Howard?
Miami, and I love them too. But I'm just
all right.
saying,
Go ahead, man.
They
Go
beat
ahead.
Appalachian State by 2. They lost to Michigan State. They blew out Central Connecticut, which probably they shouldn't even be playing. They lost to Virginia. They lost to North Carolina. They beat NC State by 1. They lost to Pittsburgh, and they beat Georgia Tech. They lost to Florida State, who's been underachieving for the past 5 to 10 years. They beat Virginia Tech, who's no longer relevant, and they beat Duke. So they have several losses, is what I'm saying. But yet, when it breaks down at the end, Alabama will say, well, yeah, we beat number 14 Miami. Well, Miami shouldn't have been ranked number 14 from the beginning. But they always start these Southern teams with these high rankings.
Okay.
And I have a problem with that because they don't do the same thing for Western teams.
Well, they don't do I get what you're saying, Rob, but they don't do that they don't do that blindly for Miami. Like Miami's not the team that happens for. So I'm fighting you on that. And Miami wound up having injuries. Like they should have been 14 and they actually underachieved. And so their ranking dropped like a rock. They didn't stay 14. They had preseason expectations. They were expected to be in the ACC title game. And truth be told, they were 2 games out of it. They did finish 5-3 in the conference, and Pitt finished 7-1 versus Wake Forest at 7-1 in the championship game. But I hear what you're saying, but I honestly, and I could be wrong, I don't think Alabama is ever going to say, by the way, we beat number 14 Miami. I think that if Alabama were in this argument, they would say they would talk about their loss. Our loss. Who did they lose to? That's what they're going to talk about because they have only one, and they're going to say that was a quality loss, and they beat everybody else you put in front of them. Is what they're going to say.
Alabama won't say that, but the people who matter and do the voting will say that, and that's the thing. So Alabama beat Ole Miss. They beat.
Now who they lose to?
Lost to Texas A&M. Let me see. They beat Miami. They beat Mercer, who they shouldn't even be playing, but that's like a bye week. They beat Florida. They beat Southern Miss, who's down, like I said. They beat Ole Miss. That's a great win. They lost to Texas A&M. They beat Mississippi State, who's down. They beat Tennessee, who's down. They beat LSU, who's down. They beat New Mexico State. That's like another bye week. They beat Arkansas. They beat Auburn. And they play Georgia.
So, this is what I'm saying. If they lose to Georgia, we don't even care, right? Because they're not in the playoff. 100%. They're not. There is zero chance.
We
Zero.
never
No.
know with
No.
Alabama.
No. We do this time.
You and I say
No.
it shouldn't happen.
Rod. No. The math doesn't work. One loss. Two loss Alabama, who is already number 3 in the playoff, can't stay in the playoff with the loss. They cannot justify that. Unless, hold on.
what if they lose? What if they lose in triple overtime by a field goal?
It doesn't matter. If Oklahoma State loses, then maybe it gets a little tricky. But then you have a Baylor team that just beat Oklahoma State. You have a Notre Dame team that's waiting in the wings. And I don't see how you take a 2-loss Alabama team that lost today and put them and keep them in there. I can't see it. But to your point, I don't think so. I don't think that anything stranger than that has ever happened.
I saw Alabama get was it Alabama?
No, I see them losing the championship game and staying, but not this year. That's what I'm saying. They could be number 1 and lose the championship game and still be in the playoff. But they can't be number 3 with already having a loss and lose today and stay in the champion. That's what I'm saying.
If they lose pretty, according to the media people, they're Alabama, and all I'm saying is stranger things have happened.
But I hear you, and it's a cute thing,
and I completely agree with you. But
no,
I'm
I know
talking about with the powers that be. I don't put anything past it.
So while I don't put anything past them, I don't agree that stranger things have happened. I think that would be the strangest thing in college football playoff history. If Alabama loses today, even if they lose by 1, even if they lose outside of losing by an act of God or the game ending early, I don't think anything stranger has ever happened than them losing today for the second time with all of these 1-loss teams waiting in the wings and them still making the playoff. A 2-loss Alabama team in this climate, I can't see happening. Now, some would argue, why are they even in it with that loss? Now, you can have that argument, but they are in it. And so if they perform against Georgia, then they prove that they belong. If they don't perform against Georgia, they prove they didn't belong. It's that cut and dry for me. And so I don't mind them having a shot at it. I'm just happy that they do play each other. Because, another scenario would have been if Auburn beat them, then there would have been discussion about them staying or being 5th. And then if somebody lost, then they move up even without playing in the championship game. I love the fact that Georgia and Alabama play each other. You got to give a slot to Georgia. Outside of that, nothing is a given because we know for sure that if Cincinnati loses, they're going to drop them to 25. They're not going to drop them to 4. They're going to drop them to 25. And then we don't know what's going to happen with Oklahoma State and Baylor. So we have 1 and 4. And who do we say number 2 was? Oh, Michigan. So Michigan's obviously got to show up. Yeah. I think Michigan has an outside shot at losing today and still being in the playoff. But I think they have a better shot than Alabama. I'll say it like that. And that's never happened before.
If Alabama beats Georgia but doesn't beat them convincingly, do you think they keep Georgia over Cincinnati?
No, they're going to have them both. Georgia will be 4th. No matter what, Georgia's either 1st or 4th in my mind.
Okay.
Georgia is 1st or 4th. Georgia is the lock, is what I'm saying. Okay. Georgia's the lock. Alabama's in with the win. Cincinnati's in with the win. Michigan's in with the win. If Georgia beats Alabama, that opens the door for Oklahoma. That opens the door for Notre Dame for sure, and then it potentially opens the door for Oklahoma State. Well, it opens the door for Oklahoma State in a win. It potentially opens the door for Baylor if they beat Oklahoma State. But I don't think, and I would say if Alabama loses today, then a 2-loss Baylor who beats Oklahoma State today is more attractive than Alabama. But we know that would not necessarily be how the committee votes. But Alabama cannot lose today and be in the playoff if Cincinnati, if Michigan and Cincinnati win, then you have Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati all winning. I mean, Notre Dame is waiting. Oklahoma State is number 5 and they play number 9 Baylor. I just don't see how Alabama can get in. I don't. But if Oklahoma State loses, then you got a shot at them jumping Notre Dame. And I don't think they should. Fair enough?
Yeah.
But when you say, I think when you say stranger things have happened, I really feel like stranger things have not happened today. And with everything that has gone on, if they lose a second game this year today, they're out. And usually they're still in the mix. I think they're out this time, just because they're already teetering. Right, they're number 3, or I guess in the playoff they're number 3. In the polls they're number 4. If they lose, that's that. It's got to be. Like I said, unless you have Bedlam, pun intended, and Michigan loses, and Cincinnati loses, and Oklahoma State loses, then shit, Alabama might be number 2. So, with the loss. But if things go according to plan, Georgia's the only lock. Cincinnati is a lock with the win. Michigan's a lock with the win. And Alabama's out with the Georgia win, and if those other things go according to plan. And I think what you wind up with is Cincinnati, Michigan in a bowl game, and Georgia versus Oklahoma State. If Oklahoma State beats Baylor. If they don't, I feel like it's Georgia versus Notre Dame. And then I like Kirby Smart, but I don't like him as much as I like Dabo. But I hate Notre Dame. But guess what? In a Notre Dame Georgia game with the current Notre Dame coach, I'm going for Notre Dame.
There you go.
For more reasons than one.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely.
Uh-oh, we're spinning. Rod, you can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hold on, people. We're having technical difficulties. Rod, wouldn't you go for Notre Dame?
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, so NFL, I just want to say, in the year 2020, we actually went to the Super Bowl, and then we were terrible in the rest of the year 2020 with all those injuries. And so I'm here to celebrate 6-5. It's a funny thing. Like we were 3-5, but we were also 1-3. Like it's been a rough year for my 49ers. And so to be 6-5 right now and to be the number 6 team in the NFC playoffs, and basically controlling our destiny is a great thing. We're out of time to win the NFC West. So I think that Arizona's got that locked up. But I think that we can get the 5 seed, which would be the first team that's not a division winner. I believe that we can get the 5 seed. So I just want us to keep working hard. So go 49ers. You want to say anything about your Raiders?
Hey man, they've been through a lot and still 6-5, so I'm pretty good with it. I see some of these Raider groups and all they do is trash Derek Carr, and I don't understand it. To have a patchwork offensive line, to have a divided locker room about a coach who was dismissed from the team, to have your number 1 receiver be arrested for manslaughter, DUI, Um, 6-5 sounds good to me. And no run game. We got a first round running back who stays injured, and we have no running game. But we got a practice squad defensive back playing corner. Um, I'll take it. You know, we may get a few people. Well, we got several players, including Waller, our best receiver, out so far this Sunday. Um, so that will be very difficult to beat the Washington football team because they are not a playoff team, but they play very hard and they beat some very good teams. Um, so that's going to be very hard. But we still got a shot for the playoffs. So I don't know how it's going to shake out, but mm, they from what they've gone through more than any other team in the NFL this season, I think they're doing well.
All right, so we're the 6-5 brothers, and with everything that's going on with both of our teams, we'll take it. And the injury bug is right back at it for us. I mean, shit, Debo, our best offensive player, Debo Samuel, is injured. We are already on our ninth string running back. Like but we just keep pecking away. Like we keep running through people with the run game. So it's a really interesting situation for us also. So again, I'm definitely happy with 6-5. He mentioned the Washington football team. The Washington football team is one of the three teams? Two teams. One of the two teams that no, three teams. One of the three teams that's essentially tied for the seventh playoff spot, and actually they are in the playoffs right now. They are the one that is the 7th seed.
Mm-hmm.
Because with
Well,
their win the other day, they jumped. You have 5 teams that are within a game of each other fighting for that 7th spot. And then you have several teams that are a game back of them. But I don't even want to be in that discussion. I don't want to be in that mix. We are right now chasing the Rams. Actually, the Rams are the 5 seed. We're the 6 seed, and we have the Rams securely in our sights. Can't wait to play them again. And yeah, so that part. All right. So but Arizona got back to their winning ways last week. I've always liked Russell Wilson, except when I have to play him. But I actually feel sorry for the Seahawks right now, just because I love what they've built in the past, and to see them at 3-8 is really tough for me. And to see people talking about it like it's Russell Wilson's fault as he comes back from the broken finger, it's just, I don't know. It's tough for me. But this is a league where it's what have you done for me lately, and they forget all of the great things that Russell Wilson has done. And the fact that he doesn't have any weapons. But all right, moving on. NBA, Golden State looks great. Phoenix looks great, which is a carryover from last year when Phoenix looked great. But obviously, Golden State hasn't looked great in a while, but they look phenomenal. I think this will probably be the year where Milwaukee doesn't get it done. But Brooklyn looks better than I thought they would. And I don't think anybody in the East is doing what I expected them to do. So that's an interesting one. But yeah, I'd like to see Golden State go on another run. I don't even think my team's going to make the playoffs. So, but I'm cool with that because I don't really want LeBron to win another one. And so, you got anything, right?
I still like Miami in the East.
Hmm.
They're in third place in the conference right now, but 2.5 games behind Brooklyn. But I still like Miami in the playoffs.
Hmm.
I don't think they're
Hmm.
gonna win the conference as far as games, but playoff time come. I think they'll do something. So I was listening to talk radio on Sirius XM last night on my way home, and they were saying that in the West there's Golden State, Phoenix, and Utah, and then after that there's no one. There's a huge gap between those three teams in the West and everyone else. And it looks that way record wise right now and play wise, but you know that certain teams, especially veteran teams, play much harder after the All Star break. Um, and I say that to say, even though the Lakers look a hot mess right now, I don't count them out. Like 2 years ago in the bubble season, I did count them out because they looked this terrible. And then after the All Star break, they played some phenomenal basketball. Um, and I still think that they're capable of doing that. So I'm not going to count the Lakers out just yet. I think it's too early, and they still have players coming back. Ariza hasn't played yet. Um, and who else did they have that hasn't played? Wayne Ellington just came back, but Rondo is still out. And I think when all of those pieces are back after the All Star break, it may look better. I still like Golden State because they're playing and Clay is working out and getting back to where he was. So, depending on how Clay comes back, if he comes back like the old Clay, I'm saying Golden State will come out the West. Um, if he comes back hesitant and kind of favoring one leg or the other, then it may be Phoenix again. I never think Utah when I think championship. I don't care how good their team ever is. They're never in my mind in consideration for a championship. I like Mitchell. I really like Mitchell, but he's an undersized two guard, and I know that this is the era of positionless basketball. But when the playoffs change the mindset and strategy of teams, and it becomes more of a front court half court set, he's facing taller defenders, and it makes it that much tougher, night in and night out, when you can't afford to have mistakes and bad shooting nights. And so I don't see Utah doing anything. They, I mean, conference finals as far as I see them go anytime that they're good and not past that. So that's my take.
All right, so
I don't we don't
I have kind of a different
go ahead.
perspective there. Um, I can't wait for Clay to come back. Big fan of Clay, and I think when Clay
Me.
comes back, then can't hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, I think when Clay comes back, then they probably don't lose again. You're talking about coming out of the West with a healthy Clay, they probably won't lose anything. Um, maybe a game here or there, but I think the Lakers will be 18-23 at the All Star break. And I think they may wind up having too big a hole to dig. I still love the Lakers. Be clear, that's my team. But I'm definitely picking the Warriors to win the championship. Um, and I am sticking with Milwaukee in the East. I think they're having a rough go of it. Um, and so this is the year where I feel that they're vulnerable. And I'm so happy for the Wizards. I'm so happy that the Wizards are doing well. Um, man, I really am. And man, look at all the outcasts doing it in Chicago. It's very very interesting. Except for what's his name, who was not an outcast. He was celebrated way too much in L.A. What's your boy's name? Uh,
Caruso.
yeah, yeah, that guy. So Yeah, I don't believe in the Nets. I never
He's the
have. I
difference
never
maker.
will. The Nets could be hoisting a trophy, and I still won't believe that it's happening. And so I'm still going with Milwaukee in the East, and I think that I like Milwaukee at the Bulls. You know, with the way that it's currently constructed, you could see an Eastern Conference championship that would be Milwaukee and the Bulls. So I'll go with that, and then I'll go Suns Warriors. Like I'll go with the front runners, Suns Warriors. But I think that what we saw last night without Clay is more representative of who the Warriors actually are. Like beating who was the best team in the NBA last night, beating them by 24 to solidify their slot as the best team in the NBA. So with Clay, the Warriors don't lose again. Without Clay, they still go to the finals and probably win. So I just think this is a year where there's just too much chemistry on Golden State, and they don't have everybody. Think about that. They don't have everybody. You know, they're probably running on a 78% tank right now. And so they've just got too much to bring to everybody. So I'm going Milwaukee, unpopular pick in the East. I'm going Milwaukee at the Warriors, and I have the Warriors winning. But I do have Milwaukee, Chicago in the Eastern Conference Finals. Elaine agrees. She says, let's stick with the Bucks. Boom. NFL, you know, like I said, man, 6-5. We're the 6th seed. We got a shot at 5. Don't really have a shot at hosting, but nobody wants to play us right now. So we're gonna keep with that energy. We still have to play, or we want to. We still get to play Arizona again. We get to play Seattle again. We get to play the Rams again. So I'm looking at those as wins. And y'all might think I'm crazy, but just stay tuned. In baseball, Corey
Well,
Seager is gone for the
before you
Dodgers.
move on, I'm
Oh,
gonna
go
just
ahead.
say I like the 49ers chances because I don't think the Rams are the same team without Robert Woods. And I tell people all the time that dude is so underrated for what he brings to the offense. He does all the dirty work. And since he's been injured, they've been getting mollywopped. So there's a good chance that depending on who they play down the stretch, I don't know their schedule, but they could really slide, and that's a prime opportunity for the 49ers to creep right back up and take that spot because OBJ can play, but he's
Oh, I see what you
when
were
it
saying.
comes
You were
to
saying the 5 seed. I got you.
yeah, when it comes to the little things, that's not OBJ. He doesn't do the Robert Wood stuff. Um, so it I'm watching. I'm paying attention a lot to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dope. Um, so cool. And let me just check something real quick. I'm waiting for this to load. So yeah, definitely, you know, I expect us to be the 5 seed this week. But yeah. So Rod's team is just out. They're just behind the Chargers. Um the Chargers are also underachieving, but boy, so is Buffalo. Kansas City is on. It's only Buffalo, I guess, that's underachieving over there. Buffalo and the Chargers, and the Raiders. But I think Cincinnati is better than I thought they would be, and Tennessee. Oh, New England is overachieving. Tennessee is where I thought they would be. New England is way higher than I thought they would be. Baltimore is where I thought they would be, and Kansas City is. They struggled early, but I feel like they've righted the ship. So unexpected for Rodney's Raiders was probably Cincinnati. Well, I guess just Cincinnati, because I guess you probably didn't expect to be better than Kansas City this year. So the highest you could really be is the 5 seed. And I told you the Chargers are pretty good, but they've underachieved underachieved. So I'll say this: you guys at 6-5, 6-5, 6-5, 7-4 might actually be the best conference in football right now. And I know we talked about that early on where there's parity in your conference. I thought we had the best conference, and clearly the 49ers struggled early, and the Seahawks are 3-8, so we're not the best of anything. But yeah, good luck to your squad. I hope things work out for you. And like I said, Washington is 7th. We're a game back of the Rams at 5. And it's so funny, like all that talking that Tim McCullough did about that team in Texas, and I mean the NFC team in Texas, and they're 8-4. Like he said they were gonna, have the bye in the playoffs, and they're 2 games out of that, and they're barely. I mean, they're better than Washington, right? They're 2.5 games better than Washington, so it looks like they're going to win their division, but they don't look like world beaters by any means. So we'll see what happens there.
I told him his turkey would taste nasty on Thanksgiving Day. He didn't want to believe me.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But yeah, I got bragging rights for now.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Elaine. Elaine's checking out, and her podcast is coming called "Is It Just Me?" It's probably not just you, but I can't wait to listen. Can't wait to be your first featured guest. I'll be there.
I can't wait for that one.
So listen, man, it's been a long time. I should have left you without a podcast to step to. Think of how many week pods you slept through. Time's up. I'm sorry I kept you. Yo, we're back. This is episode 80 of the Collective Podcast. We want to thank you for checking in, coming in to watch us, tuning in to listen to us. We're gonna get back on the weekly grind. It's just football made it tough for us, and we couldn't really find a day to be consistent. So it was easier to push it a lot of weeks. And when you're doing this on a pretty much volunteer basis, that's just how it goes at times. But we want to be more consistent with the content. So we're back, episode 80. Rod, you want to add anything before we close out?
Oh man, we got to get into this little going back and forth between Candace Parker and Gino Auriemma.
I don't even know anything about it. Take it away.
Well, Candace Parker has been outspoken about the fact that Gino Auriemma left her off the Olympic team after she was invited to attend, and she says, simply put, Gino doesn't like me. And if he knew he didn't like me, they shouldn't have invited me because I'd spent time away from my daughter to attend these camps, and I went for nothing. And it couldn't have been basketball related because in the games, she basically averaged a triple-double. So she says that she feels worse for her Sparks teammate who was left off the team, who was voted the most valuable player of the camp. And I think scored like 37 or something like that. The sister, what's her name?
Nneka Ogwumike.
Nneka, yes. Left off the team after she dominated everyone in the camp. And Candace says she was heartbroken for her, So she says, hey, Gino doesn't like me. I don't like him. But don't do me like that. And she's fighting for the fact that on the men's side, they don't even have to attend all of those things. The superstar players, it's pretty much guaranteed, hey, if we're inviting you, you're on the team. And then everybody else is kind of playing their way on. But, she wants equity in the treatment the players get as far as Olympic trials are concerned and world championships are concerned. And I don't blame her. She's put in, sometimes I criticize Candace, but I love Candace, but she's put in her work and she has put down over the years what she needed to put down to where it's a formality for her to be on a team. She shouldn't have to go through everything else everyone else goes through. You don't treat a Candace Parker like that. Now, if she
And
was
you
coming
definitely
off
can't go through all of that and not make the team on top of it.
right, right,
Yeah.
and you out there just giving folks the blues on the court, and then oh, you didn't make the team. That's not how it goes. That's not how it goes. And Candace is definitely her skill set is definitely Olympic team ready for what she does because she's so versatile. That's who you have to have on an Olympic team. But and I've always felt like this, about officiating. Let people earn it on their merit. Like stop with this, hey, I'm gonna do your friend a favor and put his nephew on the team or her niece on the team or my son I mean, like, that stuff's got to stop, man. Or we're really pushing this person, they're going to be great, we just got to keep working with them. Well, there might be a whole lot of people that can be great if you work with them for the simple
Yeah.
fact that you're giving them extra special attention. So, you know, I was feeling Candace, um, and I hope that she succeeds in changing that. And I hope the powers that be that are involved will make those changes and understand that
Hmm.
veterans are not treated like rookies, and superstars are not treated like regular veterans. They've earned that right to be treated differently.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
you know, I know that that was a big thing that they talked about with the Clippers and Doc Rivers, that, oh, he treated certain players certain ways. Well, he knows those players. He knows what they bring to the table. He knows, that he can depend on them in certain areas. So, I used to hear about Bill Parcells. As much as he worked his players for the Giants, it's like, hey, I'm giving Lawrence Taylor the day off today. He's not practicing. Um, but you knew Lawrence Taylor on Sunday was going to bring it and may get you 3 or 4 sacks in one game and two forced fumbles. You know, you knew what you were getting out of Lawrence Taylor week to week. You didn't see him get dominated by anyone on the field. So if you want to give him a break and say, hey, you know what? Just show up for the walkthrough and the film session. You don't have to put your pads on because I know your body's aching. So be it.
Yeah.
And who's the other people to question stuff like that?
Yeah. Iverson.
But
Yep, I got you. Like if
yeah,
that's what they get, then they've earned it. Now you have other people who would would never take any time off, but that doesn't mean that they're faulting the people who get to it. But it's those people who have never even been in it that have so much to say. But anyway, Gino Ariema is disgusting. So, haha, take
yes,
that. Um, I don't like what he did with Agumake or Parker, and so there you go. Um, Corey Seager is gone. Max Scherzer
yes,
is gone. I don't
yes.
think anyone
With
else is
some
gone.
parting shots. Max
Scherzer or
Scherzer
Seager?
lost. Max Scherzer left with parting shots.
What do you say?
There's some
Don't
opinions
care.
that Seager was already going because his some of his old coaches who he played for prior to you know getting big with the Dodgers were on the Texas coaching staff. So they kind of a lot of people kind of felt like Seager was only like 1 foot in, 1 foot out the whole time. Um, so there are some players that said they weren't surprised that it was just a foregone conclusion. Max Scherzer says that the Dodgers killed his arm and they don't know what they're doing over there because he didn't like the fact that they put their pitchers on a pitch count. He's used to being a workhorse and throwing at least 110 pitches a game. That's how Washington used him. And because he threw fewer pitches. Um, he suffered from dead arm and wasn't sharp in the playoffs.
Oh, okay. Anything else?
And all I could do was shake my head.
How many World Series does Max Scherzer have?
Right.
Oh, did he
Right.
win with the Nationals?
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
All right. Well, it's a lot of talk. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If I'm
And why wouldn't they put you on a pitch count when you're getting close to 40 years old? I mean, like,
I
come
don't
on.
understand. Like that sounds like the the reverse of sensibility. They made me pitch less, so that killed my arm. It sounds like some buffoonery. Anyway, the saga continues with Trevor Bauer. Stay tuned. We still don't have anything with that.
And that clown still won't stay off of Twitter talking about everybody.
Yeah, I don't even want to bring any more light to him. I'm just thinking about the reasons that the Dodgers didn't do things. And it was anyway. All right. There's a show called Harlem, created by Tracy Oliver. It's on Prime Video. I've already watched all 10 episodes. Harlem is amazing. It's starring the most beautiful in the world, one of the most beautiful women in the world, Megan Good. And interestingly enough, Grace Byers, who is on uh, what's that show called with Empire? She's on Empire. She's actually pretty cool looking too. So she's on there, and then two other people who are not well known, but the four of them are on the show Harlem, and it's a really really good show. So everybody check it out if you get a chance. Rod, go ahead and close out. Man, we're about to hit 2 hours. This is wild. What a way to come back.
Yeah.
What you got?
I gotta get Lauren ready and get her ready for a basketball game, and I gotta hit to San Diego for my football game.
Yeah, congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Man, just it's December already. I mean, it didn't sink into me until I walked in uh a furniture store yesterday and they were playing Charles Brown and Donny Hathaway Christmas music. And I'm like, wow, Christmas is right around the corner. We're in December, and it just didn't feel like that. Um, I was happy to see my son for Thanksgiving break for, close to 10 days and enjoyed my family, my immediate family. We chilled at home for Thanksgiving and we just kind of sat together and cracked jokes and, ate and watched games and that kind of stuff. And it's just gonna be more of the same for me, just basketball and this football game. Hopefully I'll get a championship game out of it. Not sure, but if not, I've had a fun season, college football wise. Um, and it's being capped off right. So we'll see what happens. But, continue to stay safe, people. People are still dying from COVID. I know someone who just died 2 days ago, um, from the effects of it. And, it's no joke. So continue to stay safe and stay tight with your families and be careful out there in this season.
All right. Thanks to John. Thanks to Jay Moore for coming. For checking in. Thanks to Elaine. Thanks to Roddy T. Thanks to AC Sports Live for actually coming on the show. And since we were last on the air, my daughter Kayla Sky Carter turned 4, so 4 big ones, and she is still trying to run the world. And I'm gonna help her get there. Love her to death. Shout out to her. Listen, like Rodney said, please continue to stay safe. Please do all you can to flatten the curve. Do all that you can to repel this virus. I tell you, there are a lot of people that have passed and a lot of people that are on their deathbed that are regretting not getting vaccinated. They're saying it. They're saying, I should have listened. I should have gotten vaccinated. I don't want that to be you guys. Oh man, my drink was here this whole time. I don't want that to be any of you. So please remain safe. Congrats to Rodney on continuing his football season. I actually worked basketball last night with a couple of guys who were in San Diego. One of them's from San Diego. The other one is from the East Coast. And he's someone that is a well-respected football official. I didn't even know. So we had some good talks, and it turns out that we're in the same group. He's further along than me in that group in football because he's actually on a crew and is probably going to be working a bowl game. And then I'm just trying to get a schedule. So he said he'll do all he can to help me out, and we'll see what happens. Everybody stay safe. If you're traveling, keep those masks, double up, whatever you have to do. Take some airborne. Do what you got to do. Hey, we appreciate you. This is episode 80 of the Collective Podcast. We'll give you a little Donny Hathaway on the way out. We out.
Hang on, mistletoe, I'm gonna get to know you better this Christmas. And as we trim the tree,